Hi, this is the bad boy, Joey Janela, and you're listening to the Going in Raw podcast. Joey Janela always goes in.
This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Going in Raw.
Hey everyone, Kenny Omega here. In case you didn't know, we have an awesome kick butt show called Steve and Larson's Going in Raw, and they're going to be supporting AEW every week amongst many other things. Goodbye and smooch. Good night. Bye-bye.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Want to say thanks to everybody for joining us for like 95% of AEW Revolution. Unfortunately, just as AEW Revolution went out with a bit of a whimper, as did our stream because it died. Unfortunately, people were robbed of our reaction to the like small amount of pyro that was supposed to be a ring blowing up.
Yeah, I said in our pre-show here, I'm keeping tabs on Twitter here for the if Tony Khan speaks at the media scrum, and see if he has any comments about all that. An underwhelming finish to what I thought otherwise was a really, really, really good show. And I think the good of the show outweighs by far that ending, or the lack of real explosion at the end. I even thought the Eddie coming out to cover up Mox, try to save his friend, was a nice touch emotionally. Would that have been heightened by an actual explosion? Yeah. But I think from a wrestling storytelling standpoint, ending underwhelming because no explosion, but at the same time, I think the good of the show far outweighed all of that.
I'm looking at Full Gear.
Mm-hmm.
And I seem to remember I liked Full Gear well enough. This was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like
there wasn't
really
a dud
good.
on the card. Every match was really good.
Was All Out the one with the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara match?
Yes.
Okay, that was the stinker. Yeah, Full Gear.
Yeah,
was
that
probably
was not
decent.
a great show.
I thought this was a wildly entertaining pay-per-view. I thought this really beat any and all expectations I had of it. I think that the death match itself, number one, personally, I thought that the death match itself was not even, I mean, just through and through. Was it entertaining? Sure. I think that it didn't really have much on a lot of the other matches on the card. I thought most of the other matches on the card were really, really, really good. And the death match was fine. The problem is their match a year ago, the Lights Out match, was quite a bit better. Yeah. This was fun. It was fine. They bled a lot. They really worked their asses off. It's just, look, the problem is when you're when you're trying to be a spiritual throwback to FMW matches, those matches are impossible to recreate.
I think
you don't want to do that. I don't think it's safe to do that.
I don't think legally they probably could do a lot of
legally they couldn't do that. Yeah,
you know, there's limits on how much pyro you could have at a facility, I would imagine.
Yeah,
without running afoul of fire regulations and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know, I don't know if what we saw at the end of the show had anything to do with that. If there was a malfunction. Who knows? We're kind of waiting Tony Khan to talk about it, but again, it's not something I really want to harp on when there's so much good stuff in the show.
There's so much good stuff. Even in that match, I thought the one-winged angel onto the chair was outstanding. So many of the spots in that match were just absolutely brutal. Just that match alone was very entertaining. But what preceded it was just a lot of really, really excellently paced, excellently executed wrestling. To use a phrase from Bret Hart, excellence of execution right there.
Yes.
I thought that it was actually a really, really stellar pay-per-view.
Same.
And yeah, I'm trying to think sort of, I guess that is kind of unfortunately, yeah, that ending's going to be the thing that people are talking about. But don't let it fool you. This was a really stellar pay-per-view, even from the kickoff show.
It was
alone. I'm trying to think of any of the big story beats that come out of this. Scorpio Sky grabbed the brass ring. Hangman Page now has a big chunk of Matt Hardy's revenue.
He's got all the Q1 monies, man.
Ethan Page is probably AEW. I'm sure we'll know for sure.
No, they put the thing on Twitter.
They did. Okay, there you go. Then we know for sure then. Awesome. Yep. That's great. He's a good addition. And I thought...
And of course, well, we can't skip over the fact that we found out who the Hall of Fame worthy new signee is.
Yeah.
And Paul White kind of gave too large of a hint when he says this person outworks everybody or whatever, which is apparently Christian's catchphrase in TNA.
Yeah.
So yes, Christian Cage is all elite as well. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, the one thing about Christian is some of us out here think that he is a Hall of Famer. He deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Some people do think that. Sure.
Because he does. But it's good to see him in all elite. Hopefully, you know, he's apparently been cleared. He looks to be in incredible shape.
Yeah, he's in great shape.
And so hopefully he's still, you know, like we saw with Sting tonight. That cinematic match was fantastic.
Oh,
tons of fun.
It was
tons of fun. Well shot. Looked great. You know, whether Christian wants to do stuff in the ring, go more the Sting approach where he's doing the cinematic stuff, so he's not, you know, taking all these bumps all the time. Who knows? But assuming his body can hold up, he's a good presence to have in AEW. I think he could do some good stuff.
I'm sure we will find out on Talk is Jericho. Probably Talk is Jericho. They used to be tag team champions together.
That's true.
We'll find out the inside scoop on what took Christian Cage from the Royal Rumble to AEW. Yeah, I like this signing for, I mean, dude, look, anything AEW does that TNA ever did before them, they are going to be criticized for by a certain number of people, which I think is kind of ridiculous. So I don't know. It is what it is. Brock Lesnar is never going to come to AEW. That's ridiculous to think about.
CM Punk seems pretty content to not wrestle unless
CM Punk will show up when fans are there. That's going to happen. That shit's going to happen. But it's not going to go down like this. He's certainly not going to be hinted at by like Paul White or something like that. It's going to be in a big angle. They'll find something for him to do.
Yeah.
So it was never going to be him. It was never going to be Brock. And then you're down to basically like names like, you know, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, and Christian. There might be a couple out there that I'm missing, but those are the names. And I mean, I personally felt it was going to be Kurt Angle. As soon as Kurt Angle posted that video yesterday, I was like, okay, well, it's not going to be him.
Yeah.
And then you start to see a little bit of chatter on the internet about it being Christian. It's like, okay, well, that makes sense. You know, if he was going to do something with WWE, I always felt that it was going to happen right after the Rumble, and that never happened. So it made perfect sense that it would be Christian.
I know. Yeah, it made all sense. And good for him. He gets to hopefully end his career on his terms.
Yep.
Much like
and
Edge.
I get to end my not having big gold here on my terms.
So I've had that belt since All Out.
Well, there you go. So that's been one pay-per-view between then and now?
Well, about 6 months, 6.5 months.
Well, how many pay-per-views have you defended it through?
Well, all of them they've had.
8, so like one?
Still 6 months though.
I think you won Wrestle Kingdom as well. So you've had two.
Oh, that's true.
You've had two successful defenses. Well
okay,
done.
so Tony Khan his scrum's happening right now. Keep an eye on that. Go ahead, Steve, if you want, start going through this buy-in match here.
Yes, let's head into the kickoff show. So Britt Baker comes out. She announces that Reba Rebel has not been medically cleared. They tried to get her to be cleared. And she got with Jacksonville Jaguars medical staff or whoever, made sure she couldn't get cleared. Her team doctor. And so she introduced her new partner, and it's Maki Itoh, much to everybody's delight, man. Our Twitch chat, our YouTube chat popped really, really hard for this. I popped really hard because she is absolutely
She's a lot of fun. She's
entertaining as all get out. So, of course, this was Maki Itoh and Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa and Riho. We had tons of middle fingers in this match. Of course, that's sort of Maki Itoh's thing, and then everybody else starts doing it as well. So we saw, this was a wildly fun match. Probably, again, this is the kind of thing that probably should have been maybe on the main card, but there's only so much room, I guess. It was still wildly fun. The finish saw, let's see here, Britt and Thunder Rosa, they came in hot with a hot tag from Riho and Maki Itoh. Thunder Rosa hits a DVD on Britt. Maki breaks that up. Thunder Rosa tries for a Thunder Driver. Britt hits a super kick. Reba then hits Thunder Rosa with a crutch. While the ref is distracted, Britt pins Thunder Rosa for 3. And yeah, that was
the win.
a pretty fun match there.
It was. So this is courtesy of Sean Ross Sapp over, of course, of Fightful. It says, Tony Khan said Kenny Omega's master bomb plan was a dud, and he drew the plans up with crayon.
That's a shoot. We've seen it. We saw it. What did people expect? He drew it, with crayon. Is there any chance? Boy, that Eddie Kingston spot was great.
That was fantastic.
That was really fantastic. That really was.
The whole face turn by Eddie and all that stuff. That was really good.
That was awesome. I wonder. I mean, I wish that. I mean, it's almost too good the fact that Kenny drew that thing with crayon and then it fizzled out. It would have been nice if this fizzle out would be planned. And then, but then Kingston would have had to put in a performance of, let me get up and realize that nothing happened.
Yeah.
So anyways, the actual card kicked off with the Young Bucks versus MJF and Jericho. Of course, the Young Bucks EVPs. They just want to get their match out of the way, hit the plane back to SoCal as soon as it can.
Oh, they're not going to leave. They're not. They're
on
show,
that
man.
Brock Lesnar,
No, they're
thing
EVPs.
going on
They
right
stick
now.
around. They're involved in the creative process, how the show's put together. They got to stay. Anyways, this is a fun
who are
match.
your backstage sources on that one?
It's just supposition and common sense, Steve. I don't need any
Innuendo
sources.
and rumors. What I'm hearing out of you.
Here's the thing. Max and Chris weren't going to win this match because before the match began, as Aubrey was holding up the tag team titles, Jericho goes and grabs one and holds it up like he just won something. Bad move, Chris. Bad move.
The Young Bucks are terrific tag team wrestlers.
Yeah.
When they tell a story. This is this is just my own personal opinion, man. I'm coming at you with my own personal opinion.
Good. I hope it's yours and yours alone.
This is one of those, let's do a bunch of ridiculous ass moves, all of which should be finishers. We have Matt Jackson kick out of a freaking baseball bat to the back, followed by a draping pile driver. That gets 2 for Matt Jackson. Heat Seeker, yeah. That gets 2 for Matt Jackson. That's terrible. So I thought that this match, in terms of it being like a PWG style match, I thought it was fine. But I don't know. I really love when they tell stories, and I just didn't think this was a story match.
It was, it was, in terms of adding up to some of the best stuff we've seen from them, like their match against FTR, like the one against Kenny and Paige, where there's stories being told. Especially the story going into this with MJF and Jericho beating up their dad, you'd feel a bit more intensity. I guess to a degree there was at the beginning when the Young Bucks were working over Jericho and MJF pretty good, but I don't know. It didn't feel like that was necessarily sustained through the whole course of the match, Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was good, as a tag team match. It was fun, but I get your point. The tension and drama weren't necessarily there.
And they're really good at that when they give it, when they really try to do that. They're really good at it. This just felt like, the infinite finishers, and then everybody was kicking out of everything. But I mean, there was that Doomsday sliced bread they did. That was rad.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We had the super kicks to Jericho on the lion salt attempt, which landed a BTE trigger on Jericho. I think MJF broke that up. And then the Bucks super kick. They do stereo super kicks to MJF.
Oh, they can super kick the hell out of him.
10 times or something like that to take him out of the match. And then the Bucks hit the Meltzer driver for 3. Mm-hmm. Again, fun stuff. But man, when you've seen them tell a story in the ring, they're like no other tag team,
Yeah.
So, I gave it 3 stars. Entertaining enough match. Lots of fun stuff going on. I just, with so much story going on with the Inner Circle, there's such a story-heavy thing. And
there was a couple story beats in there. There's one moment where Wardlow's holding up one of the Jackson brothers, and Jericho charges to hit the Jackson brother. Jackson brother moves, and Jericho knocks Wardlow off the apron. There's a couple little moments like that. Like Wardlow was helping, Jericho and MJF out, whenever the ref was distracted, laying some boots on the Young Bucks. And later on, they did an interview where I'll just get to it now. Where
sure.
the Jericho says, we're going to have a war council. You know, we're an army, and sometimes armies need to make changes. And Max says, yeah, we do need some changes in the inner circle, Chris.
Yeah, so what are we thinking? Sammy Guevara is going to come out and they're going to unveil their grand plan. MJF's grand plan is going to be unveiled somehow.
Kick Jericho out and install himself as leader.
I mean, I think this match would probably be a good first step, seeing as he's the one who took the pin, you know, and his defiant interview tonight could be read as a babyface interview as well. You know, I don't fail.
After that, we had the Casino Battle Royal Tag Team Edition. This was a lot of fun. I could go through and do all the entries and eliminations. That would probably take way too much time.
I couldn't because I didn't take those. I just said
wrote 'em all
action too
down.
fast to call. Please refer to Larson notes for eliminations. So because you put in all the hard work, Larson, I will defer to you on how to call this match.
Okay, I'll just run through these real quick. Some story beats here. Not all of them. So
the story beats would be good.
So the Gun Club are in the match. So this is like the first third of it or so. So Austin Gunn eliminates Peter Avalon, and what's the other kid's name?
Colton.
Colton.
Yeah, Colton.
Colton Gunn is trying to eliminate Cesar Bononi, and then QT comes up from behind, dumps both members of Gun Club out of the ring. Problem is, they're all Nightmare Family. They're all Nightmare Family. So Dustin rightly gets upset at QT. Is like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
We're all Nightmare Family.
Yeah.
And QT was like, you know, screw you, Dustin. I'm out of here, and eliminates himself and leaves.
This had to be building for a while for him to just be like, that's a disproportionate response if I've ever seen one. Screw you, I'm out of here.
You go all the way back to Lee Johnson when he had that match.
Yeah.
And in his promo, and he was like, he pretty much put over everybody else but QT.
QT's like, I'm putting in all the work here, man.
He's the one that's doing a lot of the training at the Nightmare Academy.
I know. Yeah, a lot of the dark people come through him.
Yep. So Jungle Boy had a great showing. Luchasaurus eliminated a bunch of people. Butcher and Blade, they looked real good too. Bear Country did some impressive stuff throughout. SCU entered. They didn't win. Unclear if they have to break up now or not. Ultimately, though, the final four: Pac, Ray Phoenix, John Silver, Jungle Boy. Of those four, John Silver is the first eliminated. Pac sends him over the apron. He and Silver and Pac kind of battle a little bit, and then Phoenix does the tightrope walk on the top rope kick, eliminates John Silver. Jungle Boy eliminates Pac, so final two are Phoenix and Jungle Boy. Phoenix lays out Jungle Boy and like the first three rows of people sitting ringside with a suicide dive.
Dude, I did not get a look as to who he took out, but man, whoever it was ate a lot of Phoenix.
I feel like week by week he's getting more and more and more momentum behind him on these suicide dives.
Yeah, I didn't think it was possible. He's looking to get to like the third row at this point, maybe fourth.
Yeah. And so they're Aubrey Edwards is very clear. Hey, he wasn't eliminated. He didn't go to the top rope. He went to the middle rope. So they get back in the ring. Jungle Boy hits the super kick, a poison Rana, a little bit back and forth. Phoenix eliminates Jungle Boy with the clothesline out of the ring. Pac and Phoenix win. They get a tag title shot against the Young Bucks in the future. Next week it was announced that is going to be Phoenix versus Matt Jackson, I believe, in a one-on-one bout.
That's going to be good. That is
going to be good. I hope they give it a good long feud and give us a hell of a tag team match.
So Jorge D says, Tony Khan said in the press conference that the ending went as planned. I don't think he would say, I mean, he's probably just kayfabing it. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I kind of feel like it probably didn't, but he's saying it did. He's a promoter. Anyways, Paul White has an interview after this. Basically says he's happy to be there. Drops a hint saying that the Hall of Fame worthy talent, no one here can outwork this person. After that, we had women's AEW title action with Hikaru Shida versus Riho Mizunami. This was absolutely in terms of pure wrestling,
physical.
In terms of pure wrestling, this was probably my match of the night. Yeah, I mean there weren't a lot of like pure wrestling. I mean there were, It's this though. This was so good. I gave this 4 stars.
It was really good. It was really good. And as I said, physical. Shida. This one thing about this match, it seemed like, if you remember when Shida had her second match against Nyla Rose after she had already won the title, and she was kind of wrestling kind of heelish, a little bit. They never really did anything else with it. And then we saw moments here, like she poked Riho in the eyes at one point in this match.
They never really. I mean, that's the thing about her. I don't know, dude. I just wonder if she's bringing a little bit of dimension to her stuff. You know, I mean, even if you look at the Eliminator tournament, like you had Emi Sakura working heel in her singles match, or one of the singles, I think the second singles match, and then she was working face, I think, or no, maybe she was on the heels team. I don't know what it was, but anyways, I just think that it's bringing dimension to her wrestling.
Yeah.
You know?
No, totally. I know. Yeah, it could be it.
Like when we expect babyface, I think, dude, it's one of those things where it's like we're conditioned. Number one, AEW does not give her nearly enough screen time. They don't give her nearly enough time or to establish her character, who she is. So, I mean, all we're left to wonder is, like, what is she like? Or all we have left, really, is what she's like in the ring.
It's true.
And with Nyla Rose, somebody who, you know, is as obnoxious as she is in character, you know, Shida in that match you're referring to, you know, given a little bit of attitude. That's what it was, just a little bit of attitude. And in this case, you have, you know, 2 things. Number one, when she presented the trophy to Ryu, what did Ryu do? Like, she took a swing. And then this week, they start out the match shaking hands. Ryu takes a swing. We don't want babyface. And she deducts it. And then Ryu's like, oh, okay. So that's how the game's going to be played. And it's simply, okay, how is this match going to go down? You're going to be a little dirty, then I'm going to be a little dirty. That's what I'm getting at Shida, not necessarily that they're teasing a heel turn. Just that she is a multi-dimensional character.
Totally. John Alba has an interesting bit from Tony Khan's press scrum. That's what it says. Tony Khan says Christian Cage reached out to him personally about coming to AEW.
I guess he showed up at WWE. They said, yeah, we got nothing for you, but you want to sign? Hey, yeah, you know, we got a great catering over here. We might use you. I want to wrestle. I liked wrestling. I got in all this shape.
I know. He's been out for, what, 6, 7, 8 years?
If this dude can wrestle, he's going to wrestle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for him.
I know. Totally. 100% good for him. Hall of Fame.
Anyways, like you said, so this match was a lot of fun, man. Very, like you said, very, very physical. Some huge spots here. Shida hit a Falcon Arrow for 2. At a certain point, you know, deep into the match, towards the finish, Shida poked Riho in the eye, got a roll up for 2, a running knee for 2, an enziguri for 2. I mean, it took everything to put Riho down here. Shida got another running knee strike for 2, and then a corkscrew knee kick got the job done for 3.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like you said, at one point, Shida hit that dude buster on the stage.
That was great.
That was rad.
That was great.
Got a superplex right after that.
Tons of stiff forearms and a bunch of headbutts. It was really good. Afterwards, Nyla Rose runs out. She starts laying into Shida, starts beating up on Riho as well. Looks for a beast bomb on her. Shida breaks it up. Britt and Maki Itoh run out. They join the fight. Britt has a brief stare down with Nyla before Rebel hits Shida with the crutch. And then they all just commence the brawl. Thunder Rosa runs out, makes a save. All the heels flee. This was they announced later on Dynamite, 6-woman tag match. I think it was Britt, Maki Itoh, and Rebel versus Thunder Rosa. I'll check.
Thunder Rosa, Shida, and Ryu.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Versus Britt.
I thought they said Rebel. I thought Rebel was on the graphic, but I could be wrong. It makes sense.
It wasn't Britt, Maki Itoh, and Nyla Rose.
That's what makes sense, but I thought I saw Rebel, but it was up so quick and I was writing notes, so I might have got that wrong.
I didn't.
There is a 6-woman tag match happening.
Okay, so somebody in chat here who's his garage says, yeah, Reba. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Right on. So this is great. Sean Ross Sapp has this quote from Hangman Page. He says, Ethan Page is a piece of shit for having my last name. Just kidding. We're cousins.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty great.
That's
He's
great.
the best. They announced then that Double or Nothing is happening May 30th, a Sunday, live from Jacksonville, Florida. So that's happening then.
Yeah. Daly's Place.
Daly's Place, yeah.
There you go.
After that, it was supposed to be an Orange Cassidy and Chuck
This
Taylor.
was rad.
Chuck Taylor interview.
This was flipping. This is the Miro that I want, man. So they barely get a word out in this interview.
They didn't get anything out.
Yeah. Miro, I remember Chuck stared into the camera and was about to say something. Miro and Kip both attack. Kip puts Orange Cassidy rather, on like an equipment trunk. Miro grabs Chuck and puts his head through the window of a door. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. So Chuck is already bleeding in like 3 different places by the time Miro drags him to the ring.
Yeah.
Miro gets on the mic, says, you have a chance to end this. Or he said, you had a chance to have a rocket strapped to you to the moon, Charles. I can make this pain stop. Just say the words. I can make this stop. And Chuck says, wait a second. Ring the damn bell. And then he slaps the shit out of Miro.
Bad
so
move,
we
Chuck.
have our match.
Bad move, Chuck.
Chuck just gets mauled to start this
It's
thing.
the 2-on-1. It's a handicap match to begin.
Orange Cassidy's still backstage.
Yeah, he's still backstage. Eventually, he does stumble out. He collapses on the stage. Kip's up, hits the ring, drops Miro, and then Chuck goes on a run too. Hits Kip Sabian with the Uranagi. Orange gets the tag in. He pushes Kip out of the ring, hits suicide diving DDT, gets a 2 there, looking for a beach break. His back gives out because of the attack backstage. Kip kicks him. Eventually, though, there's Penelope Ford's on the apron arguing with the ref. So ref is distracted. Orange does the thing, put his hands in his pockets, does the shin kicks to Miro, goes for an orange punch. Instead, Miro kicks him. Orange responds with a stun dog. Then an orange punch, goes for another, but in the process of going off the ropes, he almost runs into Penelope Ford.
Mm-hmm.
So Miro then pushes Orange into Ford, knocks her into the barricade, Kip's attending to her. Miro kicks Orange in the head, Uranagi, hits Chuck with a clothesline. Problem is, Kip is the legal man in the match. So Miro goes to the floor, basically throws Kip back in the ring, gets the tag. Chuck tries to roll him up. Miro kicks out, hits a Mashka kick, locks on, game over. Chuck taps. So basically, Miro won this match all by himself.
This was exactly what I wanted to see out of Miro. Exactly. He literally threw Orange Cassidy into Penelope Ford. That was rad.
Yeah.
Like, I am with you until you are merely something I can use to win, to crush, to Machka. Game over. I love it, man. I think it's great. I'm literally, I cannot wait to see how this is going to go down.
Same. I like Miro a lot. I'm happy they're finally moving him on.
Want him out of that arrangement.
Yep.
And he did that tonight.
Yeah, he did.
That was unexpected, man. He was brutal. That was unexpected.
The level of violence. Even there's a spot where Chuck's in the corner, and Miro's just booting him in the corner.
Yeah,
but he was laying in some shots.
Oh man, yeah, it looked great.
He was talking crap the whole time. It was great.
Yeah.
Next, we had the aforementioned Jericho and MJF interview. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. Kind of, as I said, punctuated with MJF saying, yes, Chris, the Inner Circle is ready for change. Yes, change could make the Inner Circle much better.
I'm going to kick you out of it, obviously.
Yep. Next, Matt Hardy versus Hangman Adam Page. This was a really fun match. It's probably Matt Hardy's best match since he's been in AEW.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was... The thing that I like about it is that they were just very creative with it, and so it's like, we've seen a million Matt Hardy matches. We know what he could do now, and so I like that. So for example, they go around the outside of the ring early in the match. Matt Hardy comes in, he bites Hangman's hand. He does some joint manipulation, which we don't see very often from Matt Hardy. That was cool. We got a twist of fate on the outside, which was kind of cool. He got to hit his finish out there. There was a nasty. So there was. You were writing notes on this part, but like he had Hangman Page kind of like in a German suit. He was pulling him for a German suplex, but Hangman Page had his hands on the ropes,
right?
Yeah, on the second rope, and he was able to he let go or he yanked him, and it was just a really nasty looking German suplex. Of course, Hangman does that huge moonsault on the outside. That always scares the crap out of me. Hardy takes over, targeting the head and neck of Hangman Page. Hangman hits a dead eye, but Private Party shows up and distracts. And then we get a buckshot. He goes for a buckshot lariat, and that's countered into a side effect, and then a twist of fate, like immediately after.
Yeah, it was really good. That's a good spot.
From Matt Hardy. It was a really good spot because it was very snappy. He gets 2 on that. Hardy then calls for Private Party, and of course, Hangman's buddies in the Dark Order come running out to help. They sort of fend off Private Party, and meanwhile, Hangman Page is on the apron, and Hardy kicks him off, I think, and Hangman Page falls back, and they all catch him, lift him back up, and he seamlessly does a buckshot lariat from that over the top rope into the buckshot and gets through with that. It was such a beautiful moment. Like, they have told this story so well between Hangman and the Dark Order that they have his back. They brought him some beers. Yeah, it was just, I thought it was awesome.
It was really good. It was really good. Next was the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Max Caster, Lance Archer, Scorpio Sky, Penta, Cody, and the debuting Ethan Page. So, kind of the overall story of this was Cody's got a bad arm. At one point, Penta hits a destroyer on Cody on the ladder that's bridged between the apron and the barricade. And wow, did they milk that. So they have trainers come out to look at Cody. They're like, you need to go backstage and get looked at. And he's like, at first, no. He's kind of arguing. And then they just kind of hover in the tunnel, like the opening of the tunnel, for a good third of the match. Every time they cut to any sort of long shot, you just see them in there milling about. Meanwhile, like everybody else, and this isn't necessarily a slight at Cody, this is the story beat they're telling. We all know he's going to come back into the match. The question is he going to win or not? Is he going to be the one to grab the brass ring? I kind of wish they had just taken him back, out of frame.
Because
for me, it was a distraction. It was a distraction.
I'm of two minds of it. We give Cody a lot of shit. I personally, and I know probably you too, I won't speak for you, but it's jokingly.
Yeah.
It's Cody's great. I've loved ever since he left WWE or got fired, whatever it was. I've always enjoyed his work.
Same.
Is he a bit, creatively speaking, is he a bit self-indulgent? Sure, but many of my favorite artists are. Cody is an expert storyteller. He knows what he's doing. He knows damn well. Now, you have all these guys who we have seen plenty of. Now, maybe not Ethan Page. But even Max Caster, his time in AEW has been relatively short. He's been a matter of months since he's been there, and sure,
pretty much exclusively in tag team action.
Sure, we've seen a lot of these guys though.
Yeah,
and so it's not like they probably. Cody told a story tonight, a very specific story that demanded he not leave the camera frame. His anti Triple H thing has turned into he is basically Triple H, but I think he is simply telling it in the story. Like, he probably remembers in WWE, probably has story after story after story of dudes like Triple H who have all the power, making it all about them. And this match was about grasping that gaudy brass ring that McMahon always talks about.
The Sonic
that
the
goofy
Hedgehog
Bootio
ring.
Brass ring. And he gets hit with whatever Penta did to him. The Destroyer, they on the ladder, they all tend to him. And he probably said, listen, this is going to be about what it takes to break through that kind of bullshit that you get in management or wrestlers who politic, who've been there forever. You have to be the people who stand out when those guys that are up top make it about them to the extent that they never leave the frame. They're out of the match and they don't leave the frame. Like, how ridiculous is that? And that because it was so overbearing,
it was.
I have to believe that this was so intentional on Cody's part. And in the very end, Scorpio Sky, the guy who, you know, is going to have the match against Darby Allin, he's got the new attitude now, the attitude adjustment.
Attitude adjustment. That's how they described it there, yeah.
They're going to tell whatever new story they're going to do with Scorpio Sky. Has to literally battle it out with Cody.
No, and that aspect I appreciate, that he had to actually best Cody at the top of the ladder to get that brass ring. I just felt like...
Now, was it self-indulgent to the point that Cody made it about himself, that this was the story he was trying to tell, and it was at the
potentially at the expense of everybody else in the ring? And that's what I found a bit distracting. I could appreciate the story they're trying to tell, and I think they could tell a good chunk of that story with not having him lingering at the entrance of the tunnel for 10 minutes. I appreciate that. I like the aspect that whoever won that match literally had to go through Cody to do that. I appreciate that aspect of it. But maybe if it's a simple thing where every other shot wasn't a long shot, so you see Cody there, like if the camera direction was maybe just a bit different. Because like I said, I found it distracting. I found like myself looking, oh, what's Cody doing? Rather than focusing on the action that's going on in the ring at certain moments.
You got, so the Mayor Pete and Zondo here in chat are saying you're reading way too much into it. That's way too generous. When we look at WWE's long-term storytelling and we all kind of acknowledge it's probably just coincidental, they stumble sometimes into long-term storytelling, admittedly, reading too much into it. I'm sorry, man. AEW doesn't work that way. And one day you guys are going to realize that what I'm starting to realize is that they planned this shit out. Like, if you look at all the clues with what's going on in the inner circle, that shit trips me out. When you see Darby Allin getting the, what was it, like the crucifix pin on was it Cage or Starks or who was it? And that was the move that Taz was trying to school him on 3 months earlier when they started their feud.
And that's what he ended up winning the TNT title with, yeah.
They fucking tell these stories that are detailed. And was it at the expense of these other wrestlers? Perhaps. And I agree with you. And I don't think that's good collateral damage necessarily for the story. That can be debated for sure. But you can't tell me they don't plan this stuff out within an inch of detail. They do.
Absolutely. And you can appreciate that. But at the same time, criticize, rightly or not, aspects of how they approach some of their storytelling. And I just thought, and literally, it's like if they didn't go every other shot to the long shot where you could see him in Arn and the trainers lingering in the tunnel. Like, it's a situation where it's like every 4 shots you'd see that. It wouldn't be such a deal. But so much action was going on in the background. You just see Cody and them all just, it's not even like crystal clear because it's dark in the tunnel. You just get a hint of it.
Yeah.
But you know it's there.
Yeah.
And I
guarantee, I guarantee whenever he was talking about this with TV or Con or whoever, it was, I just want a sliver of us. We won't go away. I won't go away, and that's the point of it. And I agree with you. I'm not sure it's wise to do that at the expense of the other wrestlers involved. But but like, to my point, we've seen Archer has had so many star moments already. Penta's had already star moments already. Yeah, Ethan Page is brand new. Maybe not the best.
It's not even about the star moments per se or the high spots. It's the other stories that can be playing out in the ring. And I felt like for that stretch, whatever was going on in the ring story-wise took a backseat to whatever Cody was doing in the tunnel.
You're right. Within the match itself, yes, this is not going to be remembered as a great ladder match. It won't. It's not going to be remembered for that. It told a story because look, Cody is one of the great storytellers of our day. He really is.
It felt like if they didn't focus, like, again, if it was like 1 out of every 4 or 5 shots, you see him in the background. The rest of the time you focus what's going on. Then you still get the hint that he's back there. You get to tell the story that he wants to tell, but you're still predominantly focusing on what's happening in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's it. I just felt like literally if a change of TV direction, it would have been as noticeable. It just felt so noticeable. It got laughable at a point. It's like another shot of Cody in the background, another shot of Cody in the background, and you could appreciate the story being told.
Yeah,
and I do. Just a couple tweaks, and I felt like it wouldn't have come at the service of what's going on in the ring. That's it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. That being said, when I was watching, it was wildly entertaining to yell at Cody about this. And I think maybe that's the point. But I don't disagree with your point. I really don't. Let's see here.
That being said, it was a fun match. It was fun.
Yeah, no, it totally was fun. I mean, the spots alone were great. I mean, dude, so we had Paige Razor's edging Scorpio onto the ladder, which Archer was sandwiched in.
That was great.
We had, like we said, Penta hits a destroyer on Cody onto the ladder. Cody's taken out of the match. We have all the other participants, or 4 of them anyways, up there at the top of both ladders, grabbing for the brass ring. Let's see here. Sky hits a huge frog splash on Caster. I'm glad that Sky won this. I was kind of hoping Caster would, because I think, I don't know how long. From what I understand, I think there was a report, and I apologize, I don't know who had it, that Bones isn't going to be out that long. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, I don't know. I kind of feel like this is Sky's second attempt at getting the TNT title. I kind of wish they would have built this if he was going to win it or something.
I know. That's why he showed his new attitude on commentary on Dynamite, and I'm like, okay, that's notable because they're focusing on his attitude adjustment, as they put it. Mm-hmm. But there was just a 1 week build, so it's like this change feels like it's too sudden for it to really lead to him winning the match. I mean, evidently I was wrong. But again, if there was a several week build leading up to it, I would put a heck of a lot more credence going into this thing that he had a chance to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now that he's won, like if he faces Darby on Wednesday and comes up short again,
I mean, unless that's going to feed into his whatever story they want to tell. I think whatever story they tell with him, I hope they pull the trigger in a big way.
Same.
Because it looked like they were going to do that months ago, and then they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you and I have both been big fans of him.
Yeah, he's great. He's outstanding. I after we made our picks, I thought about it, and I was like, oh gosh, Penta's going to win this because his brother went and formed another tag team with a stablemate. It's like the path is clear for a singles run for Penta. He could totally win this.
Is there anybody in this match, like he's maybe neck and neck with Archer for in kayfabe, in storyline, are kind of like, why do you not have more of a sense of urgency? Penta he was preening a lot, and Archer would stop for those dramatic pauses because he knew the camera was going to get a close up on him, and meanwhile he's not going for a ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. The sense of urgency is a little hit or miss.
I mean, that's sort of character stuff, anyways. But it's hubris, I guess. Oh, my move is so strong that it's taken everybody out, and I can do this now. It's just hubris.
Yeah. So we could fast forward to the end. So at the end, we mentioned the last two kind of people in the match, Cody and Scorpio Sky. They're climbing opposite sides of the ladder. They're brawling up there. Scorpio Sky takes Cody's bad arms, slams it into the ladder. Pie faces him.
Yeah.
Like an act of disrespect, which was nice.
Yeah.
Pushes him off the ladder and gets the giant brass ring.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the end of the match, I appreciated the storytelling. I thought that was great that Cody and the story beat of Cody scratching and clawing to get himself back in the match, so none of these other guys could take his spot essentially. Yeah. I understand all that. I just thought focused a little too much on Cody's story, maybe at the expense of everybody else.
I think, yeah. After that, we had the big countdown for the new signee for AEW, Christian, at last, he's all elite. After that, we had, did we get the Christian Cage? I haven't seen here. I got to see the Christian Cage.
Yeah, it's there. I saw it. He's all elite.
All right.
I'm surprised they didn't have him talk here. He just went. There was like a little podium at the top of the stage. He went up there, grabbed the contract, walked down the ring, signs it, puts the contract on the mat, opens up his coat. He has his merch shirt, and then he walks out. That was it.
Yeah. After that, we had the street fight. In terms of all time, COVID era cinematic matches, I thought this was better than look, nothing's ever going to top Firefly Funhouse.
Nothing ever.
As a piece of art. In terms of a fight captured movie style with wrestlers, this is the best one.
I think so too.
I mean, Money in the Bank was a comedy.
But
it wasn't a fight. This was a fight, and I thought I thought Boneyard was great. I think that laid a really good standard. This was rad. This was awesome.
I mean, I think the difference in my mind between this and the Boneyard match was just how it was shot. You know, I thought not that the Boneyard match was shot poorly; it was shot fine. I thought from a cinematic standpoint, this just was a lot more refined.
So what exactly do you recall? What exactly did Darby say about this?
The media scrum, Darby said that he was involved in about putting together 90% of this. So I don't know if that necessarily means, or a lot of it at least. I don't know if that means he was as hands-on as like directing a lot of it.
One thing I will guarantee you that his and Sting's intro
was all him,
had
probably.
to have been directed by him.
Yeah.
I mean, it screamed everything we've seen with his short films. It just looked like that, and it had that feel to it. I thought this was wildly fun. We started off. There was a lot of great drone shots, but it wasn't. It didn't overdo it because sometimes those could be cheesy. They were all motivated too. Like there was even the opening shot where it was like Starks is out there. Cage pulls up in his green fancy sports car,
Lambo,
and like you get a really great. Was it a Lambo?
I think so.
You get a great like sort of drone or like a tracking shot that goes like into the car with them and then like through the car and then back
around the other side. Yeah,
and then comes back up, and then as the drone shot like starts to rotate like 90 degrees up, it like transitions into a shot of the car. Like all of a sudden you're at street level and the car pulls up. Lots of great little creative bits like that. It was a really inspired, like, you know, the little cinematic.
And as you mentioned, that's something they pulled that trick a couple times where they did the drone shot that kind of transitioned to other shots.
Yeah,
but they didn't go that well too much. It was really well lit, really dramatically lit. They found a really awesome space, this pretty huge warehouse with separate stories on it. They had a ring set up in it. Yeah, by and large, it was a lot of fun. And of course, Darby's doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and they put Sting in a position where he can be involved in what was essentially a fight scene.
Yeah.
That becomes at the very end kind of a wrestling match.
Yeah,
he's not taking any crazy bumps. I know he got hit in the back with a shovel a couple times and gets tossed into a wall and stuff. But he's not taking a bunch of power bombs.
There was one specific shot. So we've seen and we always kind of clown it, NXT when they were doing their taped shows. They would use that. The editing bay to trick out some stuff. So there was like the Dexter Loomis diving out of the thing and landing on his feet. That was just goofy. People falling, places. Yeah. There was one cut in here, and it was because Sting countered. It was like a powerbomb attempt. From Starks towards the finish. And we'll get through the rest of it. And there was a really clever cut. And it made me think that maybe they didn't film that all in one smooth way because Sting is like in his 60s or whatever he is. But beyond that, I mean, it didn't look like they really had to trick out too much stuff for Sting to accommodate his age.
It's pretty damn impressive. They did all this. It came off as incredibly physical and brutal, but you never felt like they had to, like it didn't feel like there was any, and I could be completely wrong. It didn't feel like there was any stunt doubles. It didn't feel like.
I know. I fully expected there because you're paying attention. You fully expect Sting to have some Wardlow with like with face paint on.
Yeah, but it didn't seem that way. Could be wrong, but it didn't seem that way. And you get the sense that Sting both went through this entire thing himself to do it, but he walked away with this not getting any sense that Sting was beat up too bad from it. Yeah. It was Darby that was getting thrown into everything.
Dude, that guy. Oh, man. So let's just start. Yeah, so we got Cage and Starks on their way to this warehouse. We cut to an army of sort of Sting / Darby.
They called them the Army of Hoodlums.
The Army of Hoodlums.
That's what commentary referred to them as.
While Darby skates to the venue, you got Sting in his truck. At one point... Darby pulls it back to the future and rides the back on his skateboard, holding on to the truck as it's going as they get there. There's so it's like a warehouse setup, like an abandoned warehouse, but there's like an old looking nasty wrestling ring in it. And there's 2 levels to this thing. And even I'd love to see the storyboards for this because they seem like it'd be really detailed. Because Cage first off basically takes out the hoodlums, which look like they're going to act as lumberjacks. They're right up to the ring. They're stomping on the ring.
Yeah.
So Cage goes out. He takes out the hoodlums. He powerbombs one guy in the apron. That looked ugly.
Yeah, it looked like it hurt.
So Starks and Sting go at it while Cage just starts ragdolling Darby all around the warehouse. Cage picks up Darby at one point, throws him through. And when I say through, I mean these doors bust down. They bust down. they bust down. As Darby goes flying through them.
Yeah.
Starks tries to get away. Sting chases him. They're sort of on opposite ends of this big, sort of gulf in the middle that has a big sort of platform on it that's raised. That's going to come into play later. So Sting, he chucks his bat at Ricky Starks, and then he walks around to go get at him. And instead of picking up the bat, Ricky Starks doesn't. Sting gets it back, and Ricky says, "Hey, you know what? If you're a real man, you won't use that bat." So Sting then throws the bat up to the window on the second level.
Yeah.
A precise throw, too.
Sting was so accurate with his bat tosses.
It was very impressive. And the great thing is that bit is referenced later on when it comes back down.
Not only referenced, important to the story being told in this match. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, Sting chases... Okay, I got to that. Let's see here. Cage... then grabs Darby Allin, gets him up in suplex position, and walks up the stairs to the next level.
A whole flight of stairs. And then kicks a garbage can or stomps on a garbage can while he's up there. And then suplexes Darby through that garbage can.
And then suplexes him through the garbage can. He just beats the crap out of Darby. Sting attacks. Oh, at that point, Cage puts his foot on Darby's head and basically tries to crush it, I'm assuming. Sting attacks him. They double team Cage. I don't think that's where they put Cage through the table. I think that's later.
Yeah, I think so.
Starks makes the save on them because they're double teaming Cage. Starks throws a barrel at Sting's legs to sort of take him out. But Sting comes back by sort of opening, Starks is right next to, is on Sting near a filing cabinet. Sting bangs a cabinet drawer to the knee of Starks. Cage comes at Sting with some giant thing. I don't know what it was.
It was a garbage can lid.
Oh, was that? Oh, it was the lid. Okay.
Yeah.
And Sting gets out of the way, and so Cage accidentally just completely takes out Starks with that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Cage
here.
is setting up for a razor's edge on Darby, and Sting shoots him with a fire extinguisher. Darby then breaks a bottle over Cage's head, and they together slam Cage through a table. Starks hits Sting with a 2x4. So Starks and Darby are trading hands. It's like a slap fight, but pretty dang physical. There's some stiff shots. Starks drops Darby with the knee. Darby posts him. He then climbs up the post, hits a coffin drop off there through a pile of debris or something. Powerhouse Hobbs comes in. He powerbombs Darby into the pole. Hook runs in. He does a toss on Darby. Sting and Cage kind of emerge. Cage drives Sting into the wall and then a pillar. So Team Taz is beating up Darby pretty hardcore. They swing. Jeez. So Cage and Hobbs, they pick up Darby. Cage has his arms and Hobbs has his feet or vice versa. And they start swinging him.
Yeah.
And then they fling him through this window that's propped up against the wall. Put it through him. Or put him through.
And the great thing is, he had great coverage on this because they have, the shot of them doing, the master of them doing it. And then they also had a camera sort of on the side for, kind of a medium close-up for the impact. Yeah, he goes through, and then the thing sort of additionally falls even more on his head.
Oh, man, it was pretty rough. So then Team Taz turned their attention to Sting. They start brawling down a stairwell. Cage finds a snow shovel, starts blasting Sting with it. Darby comes to. This good shot of he's silhouetted and he's kind of limping down somewhere. He finds Sting's bat. He tosses it down to Sting, who's in the level below.
And it's through the same window. It's basically a reverse of what they did before.
And then Sting goes to town. He breaks the bat over Cage's back, kind of looks at the handle, tosses it aside, grabs the shovel, hits Cage with it, and puts Cage on this platform that's between or that's over that kind of gulf you mentioned earlier. And then Darby jumps out of the window, puts Cage through that platform with an elbow drop. So Starks crawls back to the ring. Sting's in there too. There's a little back and forth. At one point, Sting goes for a splash in the corner. Starks removes the turnbuckle cover. So Sting hits the turnbuckle. Starks follows with a spear that gets him a 2. Starks kind of charges Sting, and Sting just pops him right in the mouth.
Yeah, that was that was awesome.
And then Starks kind of stumbles back a bit, hits a low blow on Sting. He's looking for a powerbomb, and that's when Sting, reverses to a roll-up. That gets him a 2. In the end, though, took one Scorpion Death Drop. Sting to get that win over
Look at that
Ricky
finisher.
Starks.
This is a straight-up Death Drop for 3. That was awesome.
Great.
That was rad.
So much fun.
Really good stuff. Really, really, really good-looking cinematography.
Yeah.
Really beautiful looking stuff. That brings us to our main event, the exploding barbed wire death match, Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. Of course, anybody familiar at all with FMW death matches like this, you got to do the wrestling first so that you don't hit.
You got to build the tension.
I like to get straight to the boom.
No.
But
that being said, they didn't waste a bunch of time before they got to the boom.
Because it was said that at 30 minutes, the ring was going to explode. We all know how that turned out, but we'll get to there in a bit.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a bit. We got to mention Bryce Remsburg was decked out in kind of not quite hazmat suit.
It was Breaking Bad. It was Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad type gear.
Yeah.
Mox took a couple drinks from a flask on the way to the ring, get himself prepped.
Yep.
And then we get into it. Both men wearing jeans wisely.
Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful new shirt to hype this match too. It's like, just looks like an old school, all sorts of different cool looking punk type logos on it with some Japanese writing. It's a really, really good looking shirt.
It is a good looking shirt. The one Kenny was wearing tonight. So there's a bunch of near barbed wire spots where they're trying to push each other in and get close to it. Eventually they make the way to the stage. Mox hits Kenny with the leg sweep with a barbed wire bat there, hits with the kendo. Kenny crawls back in the ring, and then when Mox comes in, Kenny throws powder at his eyes. So Mox has the bat and swinging around wildly with the barbed wire bat. Kenny ducks and tosses him into the barbed wire. We get our first explosion.
Ooh.
Kenny covers, gets a 2, and then Kenny takes the kendo to Mox, hits the shin breaker on a garbage can, guitar crusher on the can. That busts open Mox. So Kenny puts Mox in a figure 4, and Mox breaks that by taking a chair wrapped in barbed wire and rubbing it on Kenny's legs.
Mm-hmm.
Frees him. He charges Kenny. Kenny sends them into one of the barbed wire boards set up in the corner. And it took Mox a little bit of time to get out of that one.
Yeah,
he was wrapped in that one pretty good. So Kenny hits some moonsault. That gets him a 2. Takes the kendo to Mox's knees. And then goes for another figure 4. And then Mox kicks him, boots him into the barbed wire, and then Kenny rebounds. Mox hits him with a drop kick right back into the barbed wire. So the first time Kenny went the barbed wire is his chest, bounces back, turns around, drop kick, back first.
Mm-hmm.
Mox hits an exploder suplex into the wire board, so Kenny's all wrapped up in the barbed wire. Mox sets up a chair, looking for a paradigm shift. Kenny escapes that. Looks for one-winged angel. Mox escapes that. Hits a side slam on the barbed wire chair. And then Mox rips off a piece of the barbed wire, wraps it around his arm like he did in the Kingston match.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, that didn't really lead to much. Oh, he does hit a lariat with that. He goes for a paradigm shift. Kenny blocks that, drives Mox into the barbed wire. Explosion goes off. So Kenny's like, my face, because his face is right near the ropes when the explosion went off. He dumps a bunch of water. They're both on the apron now. They're trading strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Mox hits a paradigm shift off the apron through one of the barbed wire platforms.
Yeah.
Explosion goes off. Kenny is busted open. Again, Mox pulls off a chunk of barbed wire, hits some punches with it, follows the pile driver that gets him a 2 count. Mox sets up for a paradigm shift, eats a low blow from Kenny. Kenny hits with a power bomb, a V trigger, then another, looks for a one-winged angel, hits it. This was actually really good.
This was good.
This was fantastic. So no one kicks out of the one-winged angel.
Right.
So what Mox did, one person has, but in AEW, no one kicks out of the one-winged angel. So what Mox did is that he put his foot on the rope. One of the ropes covered in barbed wire that blows up.
Yep.
And so the explosion goes off, and Kenny recoils. He's blinded.
Yeah, breaks the pin with an explosion.
It was great. It was really clever. So Mox gets the barbed wire bat, Good Brothers out. They hit the ring. Carl Anderson is just eating a bunch of shots from the bat, while Doc hands Kenny a barbed wire bat of his own. We think that's it. So Mox gets a couple shots in on Gallows, and then Kenny blasts Mox over the head with his bat, and it explodes.
The bat itself has an explosion. It was hilarious.
Fun. So
unexpected.
Cover. Mox kicks out. Good Brothers are up. They set up a chair. Kenny hits like this running one-winged angel onto the chair to get to the win. So Don Callis comes down to the ring. Good Brothers, they're beating up Mox. They handcuff him. They beat him up some more. Kenny rubs barbed wire bat all over him and hits him a bunch. And then at 1 minute left, there's an air raid siren. It goes off. So Kenny and the Good Brothers leave.
And there's like a countdown up on the screen, on the Tron.
And so the Kingston family come up to the stage, and Eddie runs into the ring, and he's trying to undo the cuffs on Mox and get him out of there. And he realizes he's out of time, so he covers him up. And then poof, underwhelming explosion.
Yeah,
it was it's like a great emotional moment. I thought Eddie coming out.
It was a fantastic moment. It was a fantastic moment. If this was planned, they missed an opportunity for Kenny to get the last laugh here. I kind of feel like that's why it wasn't planned, because they usually are really good at that stuff.
There's a couple things they did that make you feel like first Eddie's response to all that, like he got knocked out because of the shockwave, whatever.
Commentary not understanding what was going on.
Yeah. So either is a massive miscommunication about things. Maybe, who knows, if the situation where commentary wasn't told in advance what was going to happen or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? But either it's things didn't go as planned, or I don't know. Don't know. But like, it was a situation where this was a plan, where Kenny had this whole thing set up. It was underwhelming. Then you can have that thing where Kingston is like, oh gosh, I was potentially this close to being hurt real bad.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different story avenues they can go with it if that was the plan,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you just sort of look up, like you said, man, I really thought something bad was going to happen here.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but no, all in all, I mean, still, it was a really fun match, a fantastic pay-per-view. I thought it was pretty terrific. That's going to do it for our podcast today. Twitch chat, stick around. We'll answer some of your questions. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hit us up tomorrow on the Twitch, twitch.tv/Steven Larson for our news beef. We'll have all the fallout from Revolution.
Yeah, I'll be here at noon Pacific.
Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Help support Going In Raw today by becoming a Friendo Club TV member. You'll get access to new bonus episodes every week, including Friendo Club Arcade, Live Power Rank, Vintage 10 for the Wins, and Ask Steven Larson. Get access to Friendo Club TV today by becoming a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/Steven Larson, by throwing us a sub at twitch.tv/Steven Larson, or by clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson.